Welcome to Infinite Chains.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Thanks for joining the Infinite Chains podcast. As always, we have some amazing builders here. We're ready to talk tech. We're ready to talk scalable applications. We're ready to talk scale. We have Mark and Christian from OwnYourStream.com. I'm incredibly excited about this project. I'm excited about what they're building. We're going to learn about it today. We're also going to learn a little bit about just the platform approach here. There's a really cool thing happening here where OwnYourStream.com and SKALE are combining efforts to actually create value for other applications. So we'll get into that as well. To kick off, let's start with some introductions. So Mark and Christian, would love to hear more about you and introduce yourself to the audience.
All right, well, I'll jump in first. My name is Mark. It's a pleasure to meet everyone. Quick background, I'm a 5-time Emmy Award-winning producer who invented things like the pylon cam and kind of how the SportsCenter graphics run on the screen. I left ESPN, retired in 2017 to be a dad and work on blockchain productions, and created a company called Live CGI, which has now grown into OwnYourStream, and we're pretty excited about what we're going to show you. Christian?
Hi, I'm Christian. I am the head of technology, and I have no Emmys, but I have held one of Mark's, and I have a picture to prove it. But I just have a passion and a background in video games and virtual reality and building web applications and mobile applications that just do really cool things for people. So that's where Mark and I intersected, and he dreams up crazy stuff and I make it happen.
Awesome. And that's one thing I love about this is just a really phenomenal team. It's not every day you're talking to, somebody who's won 5 Emmys and has invented the pylon cam, which I think if you don't know what a pylon cam is, go look it up. Okay. Google it. And I'm guessing this is a crypto audience. We might be like 50-50 on that one. But and also Christian, just having like a brilliant technologist on the show is fun. Now, one fun fact about Mark. Mark is one of the only people I've ever met who's flown more miles than me.
Yes, I probably have a couple million miles. I can't even tell you the trips to South Africa and back and all around. So I don't remember how many World Cups and Super Bowls and games I've been to, but it's a lot.
Yeah. So anyways, that's a dubious honor, right? Once you've crossed the million mark, you're like, no more. But
I think I'm multi-millions if I would probably look at it.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, hey, let's get into it. So let's talk a little bit more about OwnYourStream.com. We'd love to hear more about the product and what you're building.
Absolutely, yeah. So our product has a pretty simple origin. We were building stuff in the pandemic that was built around companies that were creating content and doing virtual environments, virtual studios. And we started getting feedback from individual creators that were on our stuff saying, hey, it'd be really cool if there was a way to kind of interact and really own my content. I was like, well, that's an interesting idea, but okay, cool. We just kind of stuck that in the back of our head and we kept going. And then things started happening in the world of, what can I do within the blockchain? I started paying attention to it. I said, what was funny? When we filed our original patent in 2017, we put a small amount in there that said, if you make a video and you record that video and then put that video out on devices, they're the methodology that we put in there. And to our surprise and happiness, that got through the USPTO and was issued last year. So we have one of the first blockchain video patents, and I'm pretty excited about that piece. I said, why don't we build the technology that would enable it? And Christian and I had a long discussion about, well, how do we actually do that? How do we set it up? We need to put in a scenario where we can make it easy for people to use, but also it needs to be tied to a platform. It can't just be, here's how you mint and go. So we looked at the problem and we started talking to creators, and I would encourage everyone when you're trying to figure out a problem, go talk to the actual users. It was where we started. And we asked them, what do they need? And they talked about different streaming platforms and products and how many different clicks and buttons and all things they needed. We're like, all right, step 1, let's make a simple streaming platform. Step 2, let's make an easy way to mint it. And step 3, let's make an easy way to sell it. And that was kind of the logic for how we put everything together. And as we were doing that, we decided it was probably best to find a way to remove gas from the situation, because at the time, gas in Ethereum was really high. And we just felt like it'd be better to kind of reduce that friction. We went through a lot of interviews, and honestly, the team at SKALE was the most effective, responsive, and communicative one that we talked to, and was able to walk through the scenarios we had and just kind of say, okay, well, this is what we would get done. And the technology team explained it. We had documentation that was easy to read, and we said, this makes the most sense. So we decided to put our entire platform on SKALE because it still allowed us to be on the L2 and then to bridge out the ETH mainnet. So that was kind of the genesis for how we got started and where it was. It really came out of it listening to the customer's needs and saying, how can we build this with a really smart team on a platform that can grow? Kind of the best way I can answer that.
Awesome. So one thing like for me that gets me really excited. So when Stan and we first met in 2017, we had all these ideas. We're like, oh, like you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. And from an application perspective and from a platform perspective. And this is one of the ideas we had. And, and blockchain just hasn't been here yet. Like before, like it's been in this place of like, hey, let me trade tokens, let me swap tokens, let me have high value transactions where maybe 10,000 people are interacting with each other a day, but not millions of people. And we're not really using the power of blockchain to bring it to the masses. And so, I mean, we and SKALE was born out of this desire to be able to build applications and platforms like OwnYourStream.com. And we're now, so it's just, I mean, it's incredibly satisfying to me to see, super talented people building products in this category that before wouldn't be possible without zero gas fees. And not even just zero gas fees, but even if you're paying like 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents, like it's just it wouldn't be a sustainable business model. There's still payments, right? There's still SKALE that will get paid to validators and stakers that are staking. There's still an economic model, but it's one that makes sense, just like in Web 2, if I'm paying Amazon or Google Cloud. So anyway, it's just awesome seeing this. So, hey, let's get into a little bit to the problem. I think a lot of people love talking about the problem. And, hey, if you read Lean Startup, you read 4 Steps to Epiphany, it's all about, customer development. Like if you haven't read Steve Blank and you're a builder, go read Steve Blank's 4 Steps to Epiphany, okay? Read Eric Ries's Lean Startup. But so for you guys, what was it about streaming solutions that made, where was this problem? Because clearly you couldn't do this in other platforms. Like, can you give a little more context so we can understand what your partners' pain points were and why you built this?
So I'm going to start and then I'm going to toss real quickly to Christian. What differentiates us is not only the fact that you can stream in browser, but you can take that moment, secure that moment in the chain, and then process that moment out and you actually sell it. So Christian, could I toss to you for the next step?
Yeah. So like Mark mentioned, we're very user focused. And also our roots are in like game development, right? And we're a bunch of gamers. So we thought about what we would want as well. And we want like a very simple solution, something that is not overly complicated and is accessible to as many people as possible, right? So I think that's a barrier in Web3 that a lot of people are pretty aware of, that it's difficult to get started, right? But once you get involved in a community, obviously like the community will come together and help you figure out what to do, what not to do, and you can kind of navigate it that way. But I mean, it just seemed like there should be an easier on-ramp, and that was important to us. And we were able to, using SKALE, create an environment that, I mean, we can go from no wallet to minting in 4 clicks, right? Like it's that simple. It's a wonderful user experience. It's absolutely fantastic. And we automate as much as possible. We offer, the more typical NFT experience of like, this is my MetaMask wallet. I've got it all set up. I don't need you. Like, you don't have to hold my hand. We're able to enable a tourist wallet, right? Where a person could just do a regular authorization process where they auth with Google and they're up and running, right? And click mint, wait for a few seconds, it's validated, boom, you're done. And you've minted your first NFT, your first clip of whatever moment it is that you felt was valuable to you. And the other part of it too, I think that's really important is the intrinsic value for us as a platform. We're able to allow viewers or users to be supported by people who like their content, right? So we take kind of the middleman out of the equation. Like if I'm streaming out to Twitch, then I have to have subscribers. I have to have people that, donate and enough watchers, even to get on Twitch's radar, to even get any kind of monetization at all, right? And, for a lot of gamers, it's their, 20 or so friends, and they don't want to make it their 9-to-5 full-time job. You can read articles right now of all of the Twitch streamers that are just burning out because they have to hustle to make it worth their time. And that's not fun, right? And like gaming and streaming your games, it, in my opinion, should be about having some fun. And so we wanted to make sure that our users were able to do that. And so building on SKALE in the web, the L2 was the best way for us to get people on board. And then once they realize like, okay, this is pretty cool, and now I have ownership of my moment, it gets minted before it streams out to any other platform. So there's no worry about like EULA of some other platform, right? Or licensing. It's theirs, they own it, done, right? And just to make that that ownership something that was solid, transparent, and simple. Like that to me was the biggest benefit of what we've built so far.
And the people in the podcast can't see, but I'm holding my fingers. It takes about 4 seconds to mint a clip, just for process, like literally to get it all done and go through it. So sometimes it's been 5. Apologies, but it's still pretty darn fast. Like it's really cool. So
easy.
It's we just wanted things to be easy for people.
Yep. And then also we're not painted into a corner too, right? Like SKALE set up this network for bridging. So, we can go, or users can go to Ethereum chain if they want to. We're integrating right now with like, OpenSea and Rarible with our Ethereum contract, our Ethereum 1155 contract. So that's, it's still an open door for people that maybe have more of a, a community drive from the NFT side. But for people who they're just learning about this and they're coming from more of the gaming side, being able to stay in the SKALE environment where it's a little bit safer. And then also, we're building out the opportunity for them to buy and sell in SKALE, right? So they can set the price of their NFT. We also have made it so that they can get royalties for every time that NFT sells. The person who originally created it will consistently get the royalties. That was super important to us because one of the foundational principles for us is to make sure that we support creators. Basically, like, we want to be the Patreon of NFTs, right? That was one of our goals. So SKALE allows us to do that because it's an infrastructure that, doesn't cost, crazy and gas fees you can't predict. So sorry.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one cool thing, the Calypso NFT chain or NFT hub on SKALE is going, it's built, it's up, it's running, but the NFT marketplace partnerships are launching, and so you could go from your marketplace over to that SKALE hub. You can also go really quickly and easily through SKALE IMA to Ethereum mainnet and list on OpenSea, and it's actually very affordable in this market to do that, which is interesting. So
actually, Europa, like the hub, when we started out, wasn't quite ready for what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And so because we built with SKALE, we were actually able to make our own storefront. And so we are using the Metaport and the Europa chain, and we're allowing our users to do everything in Stream My Screen. So everything on our platform. So they can buy, sell, keep their NFTs, show off their NFTs. Our feature we're pushing this week is they're able to tweet it as soon as they've minted it. It brings up a little like, I want to tweet this out, and integrates directly with Twitter. They can put in their description and their hashtags, and boom, you're done, right? You've tweeted.
And the best part for me for that was, if we're dealing with, big internet company A, B, and C, they don't do that. The team at SKALE is like, I have an idea, let's do this. It's like, perfect, let's figure it out. And I guess the most important thing I want to tell everyone, if you're listening here, is it's ready. It's working right now. You can try it yourself. You just go to OwnYourStream.com. You'll be rerouted right to Stream My Screen. You can stream, or you can just upload a 15-second video, try it yourself. It's a real simple process, and we like to push to make sure people know it is running now. This is not a promise. This is not it's coming. It is working at this moment on SKALE, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I have to say, one thing I love about your team is that you're a build first team. There's so many teams in blockchain that talk about stuff for, and they're just not building. They're not getting their hands dirty in the code. And so you went out and you built something. One, you talked to partners, customers, and users, right? And you validated product market fit. 2, you got a good sense of what you needed to build through that process, that customer development, and then you actually built the thing. We can use it today. All right. So let me ask a little bit. I've got some questions around use cases, so I want to ask you that next. But before we go into that, just still a little bit more about the current state of the world. These big providers, they're really, they've got phenomenal streaming platforms, but they don't have any native Web3 hooks. And was that a big advantage for you when you thought about building? You didn't have to go and Frankenstein some big thing. You were able to kind of build something natively for this use case. I'd love to hear about that and hear what other advantages you have off of these big streaming behemoths because of this crypto native element.
Yeah, I think I'll jump in here and start. I think the biggest thing to look at, what we said, is why should we do this? And what are the differentiating factors, and who's in the market? What are people doing? So we decided to do browser-based streaming because we thought that was the best place to be. We've seen StreamYard, Streamlabs, a lot of that stuff. We also looked at a lot of the OBS things that were out there. Obviously, a lot of the controversy and those kind of things, and simply said, let's make sure that ours can do the level of streaming that we need to, but let's make sure that we build them that customization that allows people that true ownership. Because right now, as Christian said, if you upload something to one of those large major sites, you are giving them the ownership of your content. You're giving them the ownership of the stream. They can use it. They can market it. I tell everyone, read your terms of service, because there's a lot of stuff you're getting, and you're letting them decide when you get paid. That's the most important thing. It was the funniest thing the creator said, like, "Oh, I'll wait till they send me the check." What do you mean you wait? Why? Like, you just earned it. Like, "Oh, I have to wait till the end of the month, or wait till the second." So why is that happening? So we said, all right, let's change the payment cycle, and that got everyone very excited. The second thing we did was said, let's build a cycle where you don't have to make any more content. Like Christian said, people are getting burned out. How do we fix that? Let's take the same amount of content you make and figure it out. So what we did is we created effectively a content bank in the cloud that allows you to have your video, have your clips, and you can decide if you want to clip them or mint them. And all that system runs. Now, people look at it and say, well, I know, the big things like YouTube and those things have them, and Twitch, and they all have that. Like, yeah, we needed to make sure that that was there. But what we differentiated is the ability to mint and then run the ownership of that. And that's super key. What we got in the feedback was people are looking for a way to ignite their initial small crowd base, and they want to grow it out. So we made a conscious decision that we're going to try and go up against the biggest gorilla in video, which is YouTube. There's just that's the only way to go after it, because YouTube is effectively a content store, and they are monetizing with you being the product, which is a good model. It's been a model for years. But we expect in time people are going to be, hang on, I don't want to be the product. I want to be part of the product. I want to get a cut of it. So as our system works, when you mint on our system and you sell that clip, you are going to be able to get your chunk of the revenue back, but the owner will get a chunk of the revenue when it resells. But they're also going to get something very important. They're going to get a percentage of the advertisement that gets viewed on the site. And now that's a key thing, because all of a sudden now you're getting ad revenue as an owner, as you should. So all of a sudden you're grabbing these clips, and now you have a big ownership piece of it. Once we explain that to a couple of the creators, like, all right, I'm in. So our first creator, I can't say his name yet, but he's going to launch in 2 days. So that'll be a kind of fun one for us. It's a big esports team, a couple two-time player of color of the year, probably figured out. But we're excited to have him join. There's a couple other ones that are jumping into. We've also been working through SKALE with a lot of the communities that are on SKALE. A lot of the Brock blowers and those guys have been coming in, like trying to pull the games that are already on SKALE, bring them in because people get it and see that. So that's been really great for the community to jump in. We have a couple more events coming in, and our goal is just to grassroots, build it up, give people that accessibility, and say, okay, I see why you're different than all the other streaming solutions out there. I see why you're different than the YouTubes and those kind of pieces out there. But one differentiating thing we really felt like wasn't our place to go into was we're not going to be a massive live streaming platform. We are not taking on Twitch. There's just some economics of how that's done that just felt like it wasn't the model for us to be. This is about people that are making clips and can do it. We will, we can do the streaming out to it, but we really felt like that was kind of the core we want to do, is make sure there's a clear differentiation. You can mint, own content, and share ownership. And all that is for one simple goal: to build a strong community. People have communities of all sizes, and that's what we want to focus on.
And that, and also, just one, I guess two things. One, it makes incredible economic sense. So if you're letting people just put this, like, if there's no call for curation. So the cool thing about minting is that people are you're calling for them to curate and put something that they feel is mintable on chain, right? And it doesn't, it's not like a super high bar. It's not like they need to put a Hollywood movie up. It can be rough and shoulder, production. But it's very different than hey, let me, watch me play 6 hours of gaming, because the economics of being able to do that too, it's almost as much of an infrastructure and unit economics battle as it is, making sure you have people ready to watch it. And so yeah, it makes a ton of sense.
People want short content. They want short bursts of content, simpler posts. And Christian and I talked about this at length, because my dream is Mark Rober, but that guy makes 20, 30-minute videos. And she was like, nope, you need to kind of get this where people are watching. So Christian, I appreciate that feedback, because I was all excited for it. And you're like, yeah, let's change that.
Well, that brings to why we selected the video size for the clips that we did. We're starting out right now with like 15-second clips. Obviously, we can adjust that. There's some limitations on, the Ethereum chain that we don't actually have to deal with on Scale chain, which is also really cool. But we wanted to start with something that made the most sense as far as sharing out to your social medias, right? So a 15-second clip is enough time for you to get like a really cool moment and keep people's attention, right? And not to be overdone and boring. On the other side of that too, which I think we kind of touched on a little bit, which I think is important for the people that are, constantly having to stream their content, like in a Twitch situation, right? And like dealing with that burnout. And for us, you're able to continue to do that. You're able to continue to stream out. And while you're streaming, if you have a cool moment, you can do an M key press and boom, we'll timestamp that moment, right? And you can come back to it when your stream's done and just clip that one moment. So like we have that organized. But at the same time, like if you're, streaming something or you're just playing the game and recording it with your, shadow play or whatever it is that people have on their PC, right? You can just upload that. Like you don't have to be streaming in order to mint your moment. So if you have a cool moment outside of your live stream that you want to mint, or like say, you have your wedding video and you have a moment of like it from your wedding that you want to memorialize forever, like you could still do that. That was important to us too. The ability to be a little bit flexible there is nice. And something we're exploring further.
We don't restrict what you can mint, other than don't do bad stuff. But it's really it's built for people that want to collect your digital moments and want to be able to hold on to them. So some people may never sell them. Some people may just keep them and put them in there. But once it's in the chain, it's set, and there's something special to that. And really, the Scale team gives us the opportunity for that. And it's also led to new business ventures for us. So it's been really cool to. It's easy to explain to someone. Take the coolest moment you like, lock it into the chain, and you're good to go. And people get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about use cases. I mean, gaming, boom, clearly a use case. What other use cases are there that you envision and you see, and that from the creators you're talking to?
So I'll tell you one that came up that surprised us. So we have a company we work with called Hypersphere, and they do a lot of really great security elements. And we also work with a group called Mempo, which is a online metaverse right now. And the Hypersphere guys helped us with that. And as we're going through, we started talking and got into another conversation about VR dating, which I'll maybe go like, where are you going with this VR dating? But it's one of those things we just started having conversations about what we're doing, and ended up talking to a gentleman named Chris Crew, who's the head of an app called Planet Theta. And Chris said, well, can I mint the first date? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, we have a VR dating app that's coming out, and people are going to be, meeting in VR. It's all about trust and safety. And we're like, we love that. That's really cool. And he said, yeah, I want to mint that first moment. I'm like, we can do that. Let's figure it out. So we've been working with Chris. It's a really phenomenal team, and chatting with him and kind of got it set. And very shortly, you'll be able to mint your first date. And I do believe there's a lot of people that will want to do first dates in VR. It really gives you a level of safety, gives you a level of setup. But the idea of minting your first date was something we did not expect for people to do. And it's, I was told an analogy a long time ago. It was kind of a weird one. It's like your product is kind of like Legos or Velcro. It can become anything. People can use it any way they want. It's just let them have a chance. And that's the way we looked at it. So that's the first use case that's out public. There's an announcement about that. But you really start seeing the growth of where it is, and really just understanding, once we were explaining to them why we were on Scale and what Scale did, they got it so quickly and just understood, okay, this makes a lot of sense to me. And now I can, put that moment there. So we see that as that first one. I also do expect there'll be some more things coming in the education space, little quick moments while it's there. I think people are going to want to mint, hey, I was at this concert, like save those kind of things. Those are simple little ones that are there. It's a new form of how you manage social media. And I think there's a big piece to that. And I think there's going to be just the dances and the fun things. Those will also come as we go. But I think the biggest thing for us is seeing that take a moment in your life, 15 seconds, and record it. What wouldn't you want to mint? And that's where we're having a lot of fun, of people telling us stuff that we're not really expected, and kind of where it's going. So it's a lot of fun. And there's also gaming stuff. Christian, you want to talk about some of the gaming stuff?
Well, so the other thing, besides just individual gamers that we think has had a pretty exciting response is like game development companies. Because, for example, Block Brawlers, they have an event coming up soon where they're going to do a release and they want to do a competition. And we're a natural, easy way for them to do that competition and also make it part of their marketing, right? Because they can put this competition out and say, you can mint your moment of your Block Brawlers game and tweet it out with these hashtags, and the person with the most likes or the person that we choose wins the tournament based on the moment that they selected to mint on Scale, which I think is a pretty cool idea and something that we're moving forward with some other game companies. So that's another part of what we're doing that I think this translates into some pretty cool partnerships.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's, at the beginning, I talked about the platform element of this. And that's one of the pieces that's so cool. One, this is something you could use directly as an end user, but it's also a piece of, it's a platform. It's a piece of infrastructure that can live across many, many different platforms, different applications, you name it. So I'm excited to see how this grows. And, Scale in this example, we're just the infrastructure, right? We're these kind of nuts and bolts. And then you're tying together this this real platform, and then other people are integrating this across, their own user adoption strategies.
One of the things about Scale that I appreciate and I kind of touched on before is that it doesn't paint me into a corner. And like I said, Mark brings these crazy ideas to the table and I hate telling him no. I just hate doing it. He brings these ideas and they're so awesome. And I'm like, all right, how do I build this? And Scale gave me the opportunity to build what he wanted and didn't put me in a corner. Nobody puts baby in a corner, right? Didn't put me in a corner and restrict me from being able to do what I wanted to do. For example, the storefront situation, we were really set on making sure that people could own their content, right? And we were able to, in a very short period of time, create a storefront environment and platform on Scale because you guys made it so easy, right, for us to do that. And we were able to work with some of the brilliant people on your team, and they helped us figure out the best way to do this for our users. And to me, the people element of your team is one of the biggest benefits of working with Scale. The team that we've gotten to work with has been phenomenal. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that is phenomenally here. And I have to say too that, the Scale developer community and partner ecosystem is really flourishing. And it's just, it started with a core team and idea. And now there's, hundreds and thousands of people broadly that are really getting their hands here and working. And I mean, just hearing you talk about Block Brawlers and, just so many great people that are participating. And I know our core team too, just absolutely, we live to help our partners. And so anyways, amazing to hear that. And I appreciate it. And also our team loves working with you too. So feelings mutual. Okay. Speaking of which, now user experience. That's what I'm talking about all the time. Mark and Christian, last thoughts, any last thoughts, things you'd like to leave with the audience here?
Christian, you go first.
Okay, sure. Gosh, don't take any wooden nickels. No, I'm just kidding. Just general wisdom. No. So for us, working with the Scale team, like I mentioned before, has been really awesome, and the Scale community in general. And, having a cool partnership right out of the gate, and having Scale be able to help facilitate, and help us grow these other partnerships like with the Block Brawlers, is a really valuable piece of this, because like Mark mentioned before, you don't really build up a platform without building a community in Web3. You just don't. And for us to have a community like Scale to come alongside and work with has been one of the best things that we've experienced as far as building in Web3. So we're really grateful for that. Yeah,
and I think for me, I've been doing a lot of speaking. And I have a simple analogy I tell people. Web 1 was text. Web 2 is really that video. And Web 3 is lean in. Not just lean in for experience, but lean in as a content creator. You have the ability to own your stuff. You actually already own your stuff. But the Web 2 model taught you to give that ownership away. You need to pull that ownership back. So for anyone who's a creator, anyone who's doing stuff, you should realize, hey, I need to own this. We did one other thing in this piece that we really liked. If you're using content from a publisher, you have the ability to note that. You'll be able to say like, hey, this is content from this game. And then that publisher will get a small piece of the advertising revenue as well, which will make all the publishers very happy. Instead of them fighting the content creators, they're going to be working with the content creators. That's a model that's been sorely missing. And that's one of the ways we look at it. Like, that's what smart contracts allow you to do. If you sit down, everyone can have a piece of the experience. And we know that those days are coming when the publishers are going to push back more and more. So let's just enable that now and make it an easier transition. And that's ultimately what it's about. It's about lean in, own your content, own your experience, and share that ownership with your community. You're going to build a much wider and a much stronger brand that will have the ability to test time. So just go in there and own your content. That is the biggest thing. It's why we called it Own Your Stream.
I love it. Okay. This has been one of the funnest podcasts we've done. Awesome. I'm going to go post my stream right now. I challenge everyone else listening to do the same thing. Go to ownyourstream.com. Okay, Mark and Christian, thank you. This was a pleasure.
Yeah,
bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.